Here, one Delta 1 here, long time no see. I look terrible because I've just been underneath the truck. I got the light bar just the other day, and technically, yesterday. I got the light bar yesterday. I installed it, and I intended to just install it so it would look like it worked. Because that's not what ended up happening. What ended up happening was, I guess I had plenty of time during the day. So when I put it up there, I wired in the hazard side of it, so the hazard side actually worked. This is what it looks like right now. Like I said, the hazard lights work. They don't work right now because I don't have the module plugged in. The module this is what the rat's nest looks like at the moment. All of this wiring is going to go underneath the factory cover, but the harness up top actually goes down through and goes into the same harness that powers my floodlight. This here has a 20 amp fuse in it. I may have to bump it to a 30. I doubt it because this does not pull that much, and the light bar only doesn't pull that many amps. Not to mention, I don't run this lamp with that lamp, so it shouldn't be an issue. And if it is, I can always install a fuse in line of that if I need to, or find another power. But I don't really want to, but we'll cross that road when we get there, which is why I'm leaving the wiring that long. Another thing that we've got is the way the cars work now is that most of the wiring is actually comm wires, not powers and grounds anymore. So rather than cutting into that wiring harness, which I still didn't cut into it, rather than cutting into that wire harness, what I did is I went into my trailer switch, and you're not going to be able to see it because I have it cleaned up in the back. But essentially, oh, good golly, oh Miss Molly. There's my wire harness. There's my wire. There's the factory wire. And if you look at it, there's my wire, and there's the factory wiring. And if you look at the factory wiring for the marker light, and you look at my wiring, other than me using Super 33 electrical tape to isolate it, also I isolated each individual wire on top of isolating all of them from the elements. So other than it being Super 33 instead of the like leather type, I don't know what kind of tape that is. It looks exactly like the factory. That wire will run all the way up the truck, underneath, come up underneath there, and go into this, which goes into this harness, which goes into the light, which has its own source to ground, which only is looking for power from all those switches. Well, these wires are in line, heat shrinked and soldered. There's my torch, my turbo blue torch, which I need to add gas to. But the only wiring this is basically how it looks underneath the truck, is what it looks like. This wiring is stripped back about that far, and this is the factory harness that has the brake controller on it. It's about here as well. But I didn't cut it. I just basically, you get around it with your wire strippers, slide it back, wrap it around it, and then solder it. That way you keep the integrity of the wire for your factory harness, and all you did was splice into it. That way you've eliminated that being a spot where you lose connection. Let's see what I can do for you. I think I can turn the hazards on for you. Alright, hazards on. I think we can turn the hazards on. Maybe then you can see it. Basically. Yeah. Here's the thing. When it comes to signal lights, the Rams, I don't know if other cars are like this, but the Rams will not operate the brake lights unless the truck's running. So there's nothing I can really do about showing you that. I can't show you the signal lights, obviously, because the truck needs to be running as well. I don't know where my key is. I really don't know where my key is. I'm not bull crapping you. I really don't know where my key is. I really don't know where my key is. I mean, oh, there it is. Apparently it's under crap. Let's see. Let's start the truck.
Josh Brolin.
Okay.
And
all right, left signal with the door jarred. Left signal with the left door. Right signal with the right door. Right signal. Now, what I have not looked at is if the running lights work. I have not checked into that. The reason being is because they're auto. So let me switch them from auto to technically. Now, I'm finding this interesting because normally it would tell me that I have. Oh wait, I know why. I have it maxed on. Yeah, there we go. It's maxed on. So park lamps, it should still turn them on. But it doesn't. Okay. That is interesting. It is not running the park lamps on the truck. Let's turn the headlights full on, which that should not have anything to do with it. I do not have running lights on it, apparently. Either I'm tied to the wrong thing or something. But I don't have running lights. But I don't think I have anything. Hold on. I could put something against the seat. Namely the jack handle. Push that against the seat and we can push the brake. Or I could just pull out the all-tail and tell it to apply the brakes. Or I could do that. Hold on, you guys. We're gonna go hang ten because I gotta grab the seat. And push the brake pedal down just enough to apply that. All right, let's see, what do we have? Do we have good brakes? Let's see, brake lights still work, and the top light works. So we have brakes and we have signals, but we don't have running lights. Which is interesting. I'm not overly concerned that I don't have running lights. I'm really not. I don't particularly care that the running. I'm upset that it, I went through all that trouble of wiring in 3 wires. If that wasn't going to work, I could have just ran the brake wiring in and not modify my factory harness. But essentially, I'm okay with it. So, I mean, it's no skin off my back. I mean, the primary part of the harness, the primary purpose of that light bar, which is the signals and the brake lights, which is the primary reason I wanted that, because the running lights aren't that bright anyway. The running lights might actually work and they're just not bright. But that primary reason for that, I did that kind of stupidly. Sorry guys, I'm talking to myself. I wired the wiring harness in on the wrong side of the factory harness. I mean, on the wrong side of the harness that comes with the light bar. And what I mean by that is, when I put it together, how about I just show you? Well, I've wrapped it around this, so I can't completely put it in, but it doesn't matter, it only goes that far in anyway. So basically what I'm doing right now, if anyone wants to know what am I doing, essentially I'm putting that black cap back into place That's the factory cover for the wiring. And what that is going to do is that's going to make it look a lot cleaner than what it actually looked before. And I will show you guys that in just a second, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this and going, dude, you got wires scattered all over the place underneath that thing. Well, again, that's all pre-finalized. I mean, it's pre-done. Like, there you go. That's how much better it already looks. I've got to get my extension from out of there. There we go. But all of that's going to go back. That's going to run along. The trim's going to pop down. Now, the only thing that's going to have excess of, I'm going to tidy that up, but I'm still going to have excess of that wire for two reasons. You never want to trim down your wiring unless you have to. For instance, if this was a fleet vehicle, then yes, you trim the wire, because it's going to be permanently like that until the vehicle's dawn of day. I don't know if I'm going to upgrade this light bar to a bigger one or not, so I'm leaving that wiring like that. So one, if anything goes wrong with it, I can replace it with another one, warranty it out or whatever, and be that. How many people want to see it working? To show that it's actually working. I mean, you already know it's working because, hold on. You already know it's working because the, hold on, you guys are going to be crooked for a second. You already know it's working because the light, we were just hooking up the LEDs. But what we have to do is we got to get our module. This is the module, in case anybody wants to know. These top two do the floodlights in the back, which I'll show that in a second. This one does the floodlight in the front, and this one up. Here's the interesting thing. Up does a flashing pattern, which you probably can't see. Up does a flashing pattern that is independent and that controls all lights except floodlights. Down, switch down, controls all lights except the rear lights. The rear lights of the car are controlled by, well, not these two, I'm sorry. These two change only the primary flash pattern. If you have it down, it will only these four buttons will control the back lights. Within the off position, all four switches middle, none of these buttons do anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire harness and I'm going to plug that in, and we're going to turn on the left marker, right marker, which you see both lights are on. They're actually supposed to be alley lights, but they never ended up being put in the right place. I'm not overly concerned about it. There's your white lights in the back. They are bright, even for being what they are. Left turns on, again, the front two. And we're gonna go in the front, we're gonna look at it. Turns that on. Now again, the other marker lights do not adjust those at all. So if I turn it to the on position, I'm only flashing those. I'm not flashing the two lights. These are supposed to be on the side, but they're not. I probably could disconnect the bar and then move them to where they're supposed to be. I could, maybe, but I don't want to. I may do it later, but anyway, again, I have it scrolling outward, inward, left, right. I usually keep it on the right setting, and then if you go in the back and we look at it, that works. But if you notice, it did not flash the alley lights, which is fine. If I turn those off, and if I go to the front, the exact same thing. It doesn't flash the floods. Now, that doesn't mean the floods won't flash. They just operate independently. For instance, like I said, if I turn that off, okay, that's flood, I'm sorry. If I turn that off, if you notice what it did was it stopped flashing. Floodlights are still on. Now it's flashing all of them. So, well, all of the ones except the floodlights, but it doesn't have an advisory bar anymore. And also the brake lights don't work because they work independently. But what I can do is I can also operate the floodlight independent and the marker lights independent. And that's how that works. Oh, and here's the thing, and here's the great thing about it. We'll turn that off. I don't know if you guys went to see the front one actually flashing or not, but I'll show you guys in case you want to see. There's the front one flashing. But like I said, I can adjust though. I probably can't change. I just looked at it. I can't change the lens. And if that's only amber, it's not going to do me any good. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Now, if I got the $150 additional one, I could change that module out with a different module to make that work. I could just change the wiring, but I can't do that with that one because it doesn't change the color. But I'm just going to tidy up this and mount this somewhere. I'm probably just going to sit it right now. I'm going to set it there and run the wiring underneath the seat rails and underneath this and be done. That is the light bar. If anybody's got any questions about how difficult this was or anything about that, shoot me a line. Eventually I was thinking of mounting this actually to the top and running the wire through the headliner and then down, which you probably couldn't just see what I did. I was thinking about mounting it here where it's flat. The issue with that is I'm having issues with, once you take the panel apart, gotta turn the truck off. Once you take the panel apart, you can drill into it, and there's places where there is no electronics that you can mount it. But then you run into the issue of now you can't mount the panel back to the backing. That's why I haven't done that. And that's why I'm leaving it there. It's well within reach. I'm just gonna have to figure out how I want to mount that, or if I want to do anything else. But again, that's temporary wiring, which is why, well, it's not temporary wiring. It's temporary setup in case I want to change it. Again, you're never going to be happy with what your setup is, but once you cut, shut up. But once you cut that wiring to make it fit your current application, you're done. You can't change it anymore. You're done. I also was asked, does that light on the back work? Yeah. The light on the back does work. So we are going to get this tidied up, and we're gonna go take a shower. Peace, guys.